The Airbnb looked exactly what the photos promised. A gorgeous 2-story home with a balcony. Danielle threw her arm around me. "This place is awesome and totally why we love you. You're our little trip mom." I punched in the lockbox code and said, "I texted you guys the code, but memorize it just in case." Then I opened the front door. Everyone rushed past me. Morgan shoved past me into the last open room and threw her bag on the bed. I turned toward the second bed, only for Yasmin to toss her bag on top. Addie stood in the doorframe of the room across the hall. She looked at me. She opened her mouth like she was going to say something. Then she stepped inside and closed the door. I set my bag by the living room couch and looked around at the small space. The couch would be just tall enough for me to lay down comfortably, and there was a small bookcase in the corner. I told myself, it doesn't matter where I sleep as long as we have fun. I pulled out my itinerary binder and looked through our restaurant reservations and a few day trips I planned. I held it up as the other girls walked towards me. "Okay, so tonight I booked us a waterfront restaurant. It's got incredible reviews and I reserved a table at 8. Tomorrow morning," Danielle put her hand on the binder and pushed it down. "Babe, we're on vacation, not a field trip. Can we just wing it?" Yasmin nodded. "I saw a club district when we drove past. Can we just go there tonight?" I looked at Addie. She opened her mouth. Danielle crossed her arms and stared at her. Addie closed her mouth and shrugged. "The restaurant sounds nice, but whatever everyone wants." I frowned. That was Addie's version of having my back. Morgan put her hand on my shoulder. "You need to relax. Seriously, this is literally why you haven't been on a trip in 3 years." I took a step away from her and slid the binder back into my bag, then nodded. While the girls showered and fought over the bathroom mirror, I unpacked. I pulled a fat envelope of emergency cash out of my suitcase. I tucked it inside a hollow book I'd brought. Then I slid my passport into the same gap in the book. I walked over and placed the book in the bookcase nearby. Addie watched me from the doorway, wearing nothing but a towel and a toothbrush hanging out of her mouth. "Did you just hide money inside a book?" I shrugged. "Emergency funds." "You're insane." She walked away laughing and tossed her passport onto the dining table. Soon the girls came out, dressed in clubbing clothes, and tossed a skimpy dress in my face. Within the hour, we were walking around the club district. Danielle grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the loudest venue. Now this is what vacation is supposed to look like. I tried to let loose once we got inside. I danced for a few songs before I realized I was the only one not on their third drink. Addie and Yasmin were dancing together, while a few locals cheered them on. Danielle was at the bar with a guy flirting on either side of her, but she was smiling, so I wasn't worried. However, Morgan was nowhere in sight. I jerked my neck around trying to find her. I pushed past crowds of people and finally found her in the back alley of the club. She was doing shots with a table of strangers who didn't speak English. I grabbed her hand. "Sorry, boys, I need her back." The men all glared at me, examining me from head to toe, but they only laughed as Morgan and I walked away. I whispered, "You can't just go off on your own." Morgan rolled her eyes. "Yes, Mom." We joined Yasmin and Addie, who had found a table to sit at. I saw Danielle still at the bar. The moment a tall guy in a suit walked over, the two flirty guys looked terrified, lowered their heads, and rushed off. The guy gave Danielle the kind of confident smile that had every woman in a 10-foot radius swooning over. He bought her a drink. She laughed at something he said and put her hand on his chest. Then he walked over to our table, arm in arm with Danielle. "Girls, this is Enzo. He's an entrepreneur." Addie and Yasmin giggled and waved at Enzo. Enzo grabbed each of our hands and kissed them. Lovely to see such beautiful women in such a rundown place. Perhaps a change of venue to better admire your qualities. I laughed. "Oh yeah, we're all just eagerly awaiting a chance to be alone with you. What kind of stupid pickup line is that?" I got a few glares from the other girls. He turned and walked back to the bar without a word. My friends pounced on me. "Why the hell would you say that? What is wrong with you? He was being so nice. I swear you have no manners." Now he's gone. However, a moment later, he walked back over to our table and set glasses down in front of each of us, like he already knew what we were drinking. He pulled a chair up to the end of the table and sat down. 3 of his friends followed suit and stood behind him. They were all holding drinks and flirting with each of us. But I watched one of them raise his cup to his lips and lower it without taking a sip. Then another one did the same thing. I leaned over to Addie. "Have you noticed none of his friends are actually drinking?" Addie glanced at them and shrugged. "So, not everyone needs to be wasted. Stop looking for problems." Enzo smiled at the table. "So where are you beautiful ladies visiting from?" Danielle lit up. "We're here for 2 weeks. It's our girls' trip. She planned the whole thing." She pointed at me. Enzo leaned forward. 2 weeks. No boyfriends? No husbands waiting back home? Danielle waved her hand. "Nope, just us." He nodded slowly. And does your family know where you're staying? Or is this one of those off-the-grid adventures? Yasmin laughed. My mom barely knows what country I'm in right now. Enzo smiled at that and turned to me. The planner. Nice. So you picked the hotel? I did. Addie swatted me in the arm. It's an Airbnb, not a hotel. We're not cheap like other girls. Enzo tilted his head. Oh, really? Where is it? I know every neighborhood in this city. Before I could open my mouth and lie to him, Danielle jumped in. It's this cute white place on Rua das Flores. 2 stories. It has a balcony and everything. She touched his arm again. You should come see it. I kicked her under the table. She didn't blink. Enzo asked, is there security in the building? Cameras? I only ask because I'd hate for such treasures to be alone and unsafe. Danielle melted. Aw, that's so sweet of you. I stared at him. There's a lockbox on the door. We're fine. He held my gaze for a second. Then he picked up his drink and smiled. Good, just looking out. I said, I think it's time to head out, girls. Danielle, who had been whispering and leaning into Enzo the entire time, nodded her head. I couldn't agree more. I'll see you guys later. Enzo stood up and offered his hand, which Danielle took, and they walked off. She waved over her shoulder. I'll catch up later. Yasmin turned away and started dancing with one of Enzo's friends. Morgan didn't look up from her phone and said, have a fun time. I grabbed Addie's arm. She just gave that guy our address and left with him. He asked if we had security. He asked if anyone knows where we are. Am I crazy, or is she? Addie glanced at the door. She spared 2 seconds of concern on her face before she swallowed it. She's a grown woman. She'll be fine. Morgan leaned over. You need to relax. She's having fun. I texted Danielle. Send me your location, please. I saw her bubbles starting to type, then stopped. No response. Morgan groaned. Ugh, stop being a mom. 20 minutes later, I got the other girls to leave the club, and we made it back to the Airbnb without Danielle. The others got to the front gate before me and stood outside, pulling on the handle like it might just open if they tried hard enough. Yasmin groaned. What's the code again? I punched it in. Nobody said thank you. They walked past me and went to their bedrooms, slamming the doors shut. I sat on the living room couch and watched the front door. My phone sat in my lap with the screen on, brightness cranked so I wouldn't fall asleep. I texted Danielle 3 more times. Are you coming home tonight? Can you send me your location? Please answer. I'm worried. I looked at the clock on my phone glowing at 4:47 a.m. Then I Googled the number for the police in my area. Danielle walked in right at that moment. Her lipstick was smudged, shoes in her hand, grinning like she'd won something. I stood up so fast, the blanket fell off my legs. Are you okay? I've been sitting here for 4 hours. She waved her hand. Relax. I was just with Enzo. He's incredible. I'm seeing him again tomorrow. She dropped her shoes onto the floor and went to bed. I sat back down and stared at the useless itinerary binder on the coffee table. The next morning, I made coffee and set the mugs on the dining table. The girls drifted in, sitting on chairs and sipping on their mugs. Once they got comfortable, Danielle set her phone down and smiled at the group. So Enzo suggested coming by tonight. He's bringing some friends. Just a little get-together. Yasmin perked up. Wait, really? That sounds fun. I set my coffee down. This Airbnb is under my name. My credit card is on the deposit. We don't know these people. I didn't agree to a party in a rental I'm financially responsible for. Everyone either scoffed or glared at me, like I was the problem. Danielle tilted her head. It's not a party. It's like 10 people, maybe 12. You met this man yesterday, and he was a perfect gentleman. Morgan groaned. Oh my God, you're literally such a buzzkill. It's a vacation. People have people over. That's what you do. You meet people and you hang out. Danielle turned back to me with a cold expression I'd never seen before. Nobody asked for a chaperone. Either come hang out or sit on your couch with your little binder. Yasmin laughed. I looked at Addie expectantly. She opened her mouth. Danielle's eyes flicked to her. Addie looked back and forth between the two of us before looking down at the table. She stirred her cereal. I mean, it's just one night, right? One party. How bad could it be? I watched my last possible ally fold into herself. She couldn't even look at me. 4 hours later, I was opening the door to Enzo and 8 guys standing behind him. They were all holding grocery bags with liquor and snacks. We're here for the party. The moment they walked in, I went to shut the door, only for it to be pushed back open by 3 more guys coming in. The front door barely shut after that as 2 girls arrived, then a group of 3. Soon, everyone who knew someone was there. The Airbnb was wall to wall with people I didn't know. The music was loud enough that I felt it in my chest. I squeezed through a group of guys standing in a circle, and someone's hand brushed the small of my back. I spun around. 3 guys were behind me. All of them were staring directly at me, smirking, like this was a fun guessing game. I turned around and kept walking. I passed one of Enzo's friends sitting on the arm of the couch. His phone was in his lap with the Notes app open. I slowed down. He was typing my friends' names: Danielle, Yasmin, Morgan. He caught me looking and turned off his phone. He smiled and said, "Just keeping track of who to add on Instagram." He slid the phone into his pocket and walked away. I tried to set boundaries by closing bedroom doors. However, unlocked doors stopped no couple looking for a secluded spot. I pushed into the hallway toward the bathroom and heard two guys talking around the corner. One of them said, "After they're all asleep, it's easy. In and out." The other one said, "What about the loud one? She sleeps in the living?" He looked up and saw me, then swatted his friend's arm and nodded towards me. I stepped forward, and they both went silent. One of them smiled. "You headed to the bathroom?" I opened my mouth to answer, and the other one reached out and grabbed my hip, pulling me towards him. I jerked away. Two more of Enzo's guys walked up behind me, and I was surrounded. Two of them openly examined me and grinned. The other one looked at the ceiling as if he was admiring a painting. Every time I turned to keep my eyes on one of them, I felt fingers graze my back. Every time I turned, the one behind me would reach out. I put out my arms and screamed, "Stop it!" They looked at one another, then back at me, and took a step forward in unison. I stumbled back, and they started laughing. One held up 3 fingers to the other and nodded. The other said, "Ha! Nice!" and they bumped fists. I pushed past the smallest of them and moved as far from them as I could get. Danielle danced past me with Enzo's arm around her waist. "Isn't this party amazing? See? This is what a vacation should be." I grabbed her arm and leaned towards her. "There are 50 people in our rental, Danielle. I don't know a single one of them. And your boyfriend's friends keep putting their hands on me." She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, someone bumped into you at a party. Call the police. You should be flattered if anything. Go bother the other girls by the table. They need another person." She turned and disappeared into the crowd. I turned and headed towards the dining table where a small group had gathered, playing a drinking game. Enzo's guys were asking questions, and my friends and other friends were answering. One of the guys pointed at Morgan. "What's the most expensive thing you brought on this trip?" Morgan thought for a moment and held up her wrist. "This bracelet. It was my grandmother's." He nodded and looked at the guy next to him. They smile at one another. Another one of Enzo's friends leaned toward Yasmin. "What time do you usually fall asleep?" She laughed. "Why? You seem pretty interested in my bedtime routine." For a moment, I smiled, hoping she caught on. But then the guy laughed and said, "I am absolutely interested in your bedtime routine," and winked. Yasmin's entire body turned bright red, and she hid her face behind her hair. The table laughed. I stood behind the group and watched. A glass shattered in the hallway, and glass hit my foot. I stood up and saw one of Enzo's guys pulling a girl. She could barely stand. Her head was bobbing and her feet were dragging against the floor. He had her by the arm and was heading toward one of the bedrooms. I stepped in front of him and put my hand flat on his chest. "Where are you taking her?" He smiled. "Relax. She's my girlfriend. She just had too much to drink." The girl's eyes were barely open. I looked at her. Hey, do you know this guy?" She mumbled something I couldn't understand. I didn't move. Morgan appeared next to me and grabbed my arm. "Oh my God, can you stop being a parent? You're being so embarrassing right now." He said she's his girlfriend. Morgan pulled me away. The guy winked at me and guided the girl into the room. The door shut. I stared at it. Morgan walked away. I stood in the kitchen and watched one of Enzo's guys reach into his jacket pocket and pull out a small plastic bag. He pinched powder from it and dropped it into a red Solo cup. He swirled it around and started walking toward the living room. I followed him. He was heading straight for Addie. I cut between them and smacked the cup out of his hand. Red liquid splashed across the living room carpet and soaked into the fabric. The room went quiet as everyone stared at me. Danielle looked at the carpet and her mouth dropped open. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Morgan threw her hands up. "Oh my God, the deposit! Do you know how much that's going to cost us?" I pointed at the guy. "He put something in that drink. I watched him do it. He was about to hand it to Addie." The guy put his hands up and laughed. "I didn't put anything in any drink, and it really isn't cool you bumped into me." He turned to the other guys and spun his finger by his head like I was crazy. Danielle grabbed my arm. "You've probably had too much to drink. Sit down by yourself for a bit." Addie looked at me. For a split second, something flickered behind her eyes. Then Yasmin pulled her away and handed her a new cup. I sat on the couch and watched Enzo, who wasn't socializing anymore. He moved through the Airbnb room by room. He opened the hallway closet and looked inside. He ran his hand along the shelf by the TV. He crouched near the bookcase in the living room where I'd hidden my cash. I walked up to him. What are you looking at? He stood up and smiled with every tooth. Just looking for more glasses for some vodka bottles my boy brought? I stared at him. The glasses are in the kitchen. You know that. He picked up a red Solo cup and handed it to me, only to clink our cups together. I set my cup on the table and walked away. He watched me go. That's when I spotted a black duffel bag sitting near the front door. The zipper was half open. I crouched down and pulled it open. Coils of rope sat inside. I picked the bag up and walked it over to Enzo, who was twirling Danielle's hair. What the hell is this? He didn't flinch. That's my overnight bag. He winked at Danielle. Danielle bit her lip and smiled. I looked at her. Danielle, there's rope in here. Danielle gave me a long, pitying look and opened her mouth. Well, one of Enzo's guys stepped forward and grabbed the bag from me. Some people are into that. He grinned at me. I reached back for the bag and his jacket shifted when he lifted the duffel bag above my head. That's when I saw it. A dark handle tucked into his waistband. I stared at it. He stepped back and adjusted his jacket. I looked around the room. Everyone was either drunk or didn't care. I backed away. Once the party wound down, the Airbnb looked like a crime scene. Red cups on every surface. My itinerary binder was on the tile floor, knocked off the counter, footprints across the plastic cover. Everyone went to their bedrooms, one by one. Danielle pulled Enzo, who was carrying his duffel bag, in, and the lock clicked. Yasmin disappeared with one of his friends. Morgan took another guy by the hand and shut the third door. I stood in the hallway, listening to locks click, and crossed my arms, uncomfortable as hell. Then Addie walked past with the quiet guy. She paused at the bedroom door and looked at me. She gave me a half-hearted smile. Then she went inside. I was standing alone in the hallway, left to clean up the mess. I flipped the burned couch cushion over and lay down, pulling a throw blanket over my legs. I closed my eyes and fell asleep. Suddenly, rough hands were touching my body and I was dragged off the couch. Hands were on my wrists, over my mouth. I opened my eyes and bit down on the hand keeping me from screaming. However, before I got the chance to breathe, a cloth was shoved between my teeth. My wrists were yanked behind my back and zip-tied so tight the plastic bit into my skin. I was flipped onto my stomach. A knee jammed into the small of my back. I tried to kick and someone pinned my ankles. My eyes adjusted and I watched tall figures move through the Airbnb. 3 men were in the living room. 2 were in the hallway. They whispered to one another, searching through the house. Enzo quietly stepped out of Danielle's bedroom, carrying her suitcase over one shoulder. Her phone was in his other hand. He pointed at one guy, then at Yasmin's door. The guy winked and said, "Already done. Her stuff's in the van." Another guy snuck into Morgan's room. He came back out with her wallet, jewelry box, and her phone. I lay on the floor, struggling against the zip ties, watching them expertly go from each corner of the house, searching for valuables. Enzo did a final sweep and looked at the floor. He picked up my itinerary binder, flipped through my hours of hard work and planning. He closed it and dropped it on the floor, like junk. He looked at me on the couch and smirked. "Your friends should have listened to you." He walked over and grabbed my chin roughly. "Don't bother contacting the police or we'll find each of you and make an example out of you. Just go back home where you belong." He walked out. His guys followed single file, bags over shoulders, pockets full. The door clicked shut. I struggled to escape the zip ties until my skin was so raw I was bleeding and couldn't stand the pain. Then I lay in the dark for 6 more hours. When morning light came through the windows, I realized it made everything worse. I saw every drawer hung open. Bags were turned inside out. Our personal belongings scattered across the tile like a yard sale after a surprise hurricane. The gag in my mouth had soaked through from my spit and tears and dried stiff against my face. Addie's door opened first. She shuffled out, squinting against the light, wearing a man's baggy t-shirt and last night's mascara smeared down her cheeks. She looked around at the mess on the floor. Then she looked over at me near the couch. "Oh my God!" She ran over and yanked the gag out of my mouth. Her fingers pulled at the zip ties on my wrists. "What happened? Who did this?" My jaw ached so badly I rubbed it and couldn't form words for a few seconds. My voice sounded like gravel as I said, "Enzo and his friends robbed us while you all slept." Addie stared at me. How long have you been like this?" I coughed. "Since 3 a.m. Her hands covered her mouth. The bedroom doors started opening one by one. Danielle came out first, yawning, hair matted to one side, and froze in the hallway. She looked at the scattered contents on the floor and ran back into her room. Addie helped me stand as Danielle screamed, "My passport is gone. All my money is gone." We walked over to her room and I watched as she ripped sheets off the bed, threw pillows onto the floor. Yasmin came out next. She picked up her purse from the floor, turned it upside down, and shook. Fear consumed her face as she dropped to her knees. "My laptop is gone. My thesis was on that laptop." 2 years of work. I won't graduate college now. Morgan emerged last. What's going on? I walked over and took her hands in mine, knowing this would hurt her the most. We were robbed. Her face paled as she ran straight to the dresser. Where's my jewelry box? No. Her hands touched the bare surface. My grandmother's necklace with her ashes. It's gone. She ran to the bathroom in tears. As soon as I heard vomit sounds, I walked over to the other girls. Danielle paced. Everything I brought is gone. I watched them tear the Airbnb apart and thought about how much more delicate the men were while robbing the place. Suddenly, they turned on each other and pointed fingers. Danielle pointed at Yasmin. You told them which bedroom was whose. This is your fault. You gave them the idea to seduce us. Yasmin's head snapped toward her. Are you kidding? You're the one who walked off with him the first night and gave him our address. Morgan threw her hands up. Exactly, Danielle. None of us invited them over to rob us. Danielle whipped around. You gave him a tour. You showed him where our bags were. I was being friendly while you stood there drooling all over the guys. No, you were being stupid. I sat down on the couch, rubbing the welts on my wrists, and watched the women scream at each other. A scab on my wrist peeled off, and I started bleeding. Furious, I yelled at them all. You want to know whose fault it is? All of you. You sat around that table playing a drinking game with those guys and answered every question they asked. Morgan, you held up your wrist and told them your bracelet was the most expensive thing you brought. Yasmin, you talked about your bedtime routine. They asked you all, hey, what's worth taking from you? And you answered every single time like it was a fun party game. The girls all stared at me with either guilt or anger. Morgan uncrossed her arms and nervously tugged at her fingers. Yasmin stared at the floor. Danielle spun toward me and pointed. Why didn't you do something? You were right there in the living room this whole time. This whole trip was your idea anyway. This is your fault too. I held up my wrists. The zip tie marks were red and impossible to miss. The fresh blood from the scab ran further down. I was tied up, Danielle, gagged, for 6 hours alone, while you all slept like babies. At least you guys got extra screwed by the men who robbed us. She looked at my wrists, then looked away. Morgan recrossed her arms. Okay, so what do we do now? You're the planner. Plan something. I laughed bitterly. The only thing I'm planning is how I'm going to cover the damage cost from this whole mess. My name is on this Airbnb. My credit card is on file. I didn't throw this party, you guys did. I didn't invite anyone over, you all did. And somehow, I'm the one who pays for it. Morgan waved her hand dismissively. We can deal with that later. Right now, we need to figure out how to get home. None of us have our phones, money, or passports. We're stranded. I stood up. No, you all are stranded. I walked to the bookshelf where I'd stored my hollow book. It was still there, untouched. The robbers didn't go near the bookcase. I pulled out the book and opened it, revealing my emergency cash and passport. Everyone was watching me. Addie's eyes moved from my passport to the dining table where she'd tossed hers. Danielle saw the passport in my hand and her entire posture changed. The anger evaporated. Oh, thank God. Okay, you can get us to the embassy. You can find a phone and call someone. Come on, you always figure this stuff out. That's what you do. I stared at her. Oh, now you want a trip, Mom? She flinched. Yasmin grabbed my arm with both hands. Please, I don't speak the language. I can't call my family. I can't even read the street signs. I have nothing. Morgan stepped forward. Give me some of that cash so I can at least get a cab to the... I pulled back. Give me this. Give me that. Give you everything. Jesus, can you guys let me breathe? We'll pay you back. I scoffed and put the cash and passport in my pocket. The way you paid me back for the plane tickets to get here? Morgan's jaw tightened. This isn't the time to be petty. Petty? I looked at her. You told me nobody wants to travel with me while I swept up broken glass at a party I begged you not to throw. You each took a bedroom and locked your door so I had to sleep on the couch during a vacation I planned. I spent 6 hours tied up on the floor 10 feet away from you, and none of you have even asked me if I'm okay or if they hurt me. I looked at Morgan, and when I tried to stop one of those guys from dragging an unconscious girl into a bedroom, you pulled me away. You told me I was embarrassing. You chose those men over another woman's safety, over mine. Morgan opened her mouth, closed it. I turned to Danielle, and you. He asked you if we had security. He asked you everything except your bank PIN number, and I bet you would have given him that too if he'd smiled while he asked. Danielle's face crumbled. The girls lowered their heads. I frowned, not believing their act for a second. I'm flying home. Morgan's arms dropped. You're not serious. Yasmin's voice cracked. You can't just leave us here. We're stranded. I shrugged and walked towards the front door. The embassy address was on page 6 of the itinerary binder. If you find it, you'll figure out your next steps. I stepped over the footprint-riddled itinerary on my way to the door, wondering how long it'd take them to find it. The door closed behind me. I got a 3-second head start before the door opened again. Danielle came out first. "You cannot do this!" Yasmin's voice pitched so high it cracked. "Don't abandon us, you coward!" Morgan yelled my name over and over again. They all stood next to one another on the street, barefoot, yelling and cursing me out as I walked away. The last thing I heard was Addie loudly screaming, "Damn it! What's the code to get in?" Danielle screamed back. "We're locked out?" I called over my shoulder without turning around. "I told you to memorize it." The sun was warm, the street was quiet, and I didn't look back once.